Tatum Beatrice O'Neal is an American actress. She is the youngest person ever to win a competitive Academy Award, winning at age 10 for her performance as Addie Loggins in Paper Moon opposite her father, Ryan O'Neal. She also starred as Amanda Wurlitzer in The Bad News Bears, followed by Nickelodeon, and Little Darlings. O'Neal later appeared in guest roles in Sex and the City, 8 Simple Rules and Law and Order, Criminal Intent. From 2006 to 2007, she portrayed Blythe Hunter in the My Network TV drama series Wicked Games. Early life. McEnroe was born in Wiesbaden, West Germany, to American parents, John Patrick McEnroe and his wife Kay, née Tresham. His father, the son of Irish immigrants, was at the time stationed with the United States Air Force, famously revealing during a press conference in Belgium that his son John was made in Belgium but born in Germany. McEnroe's Irish paternal grandfather was from Ballajamastuff in County Cavan and his grandmother was from County Westmeath. When he was about 9 months old, the family moved to the Stewart Air Force Base in Newburgh, New York, when his father was transferred back to the U.S. After leaving the Air Force, McEnroe's father worked daytime as an advertising agent while attending Fordham Law School by night. In 1961, the family moved to the Flushing neighborhood of the borough of Queens in New York City, then to Douglaston, also in Queens, in 1963. John has 2 younger brothers, Mark and former professional tennis player Patrick. Growing up in Douglaston, McEnroe started playing tennis at the nearby Douglaston Club when he was 8. At 9, his parents enrolled him in the Eastern Lawn Tennis Association, and he soon started playing regional tournaments. He then began competing in national juniors tournaments, and at 12 when he was ranked 7th in his age group he joined the Port Washington Tennis Academy on Long Island, New York. McEnroe attended Trinity School in Manhattan, graduating in 1977. Career. As an 18-year-old amateur in 1977, McEnroe won both the mixed doubles and junior singles titles at the French Open, partnering with Mary Carrillo in the former. McEnroe later progressed through the singles qualifying tournament at Wimbledon and into the main draw, where he lost in the semi-finals to Jimmy Connors in 4 sets. It was the best performance by a male qualifier at any major, and a record performance by an amateur in the Open era. After Wimbledon, McEnroe was recruited by coach Dick Gould and entered Stanford University, where, in 1978, he led the Stanford team to an NCAA championship, and also won the NCAA singles title. Later in 1978, he joined the ATP Tour and signed his first professional endorsement deal, with Sergio Tacchini. He again advanced to the semifinals at a major, this time the US Open, losing again to Connors. Following which, he proceeded to win 5 titles that year, including his first Masters Grand Prix, beating Arthur Ashe in straight sets, as well as Grand Prix events at Stockholm and Wembley. His late-season success allowed him to finish as the year-end world number 4 player. 1979–83. In 1979, McEnroe and partner Peter Fleming won the Wimbledon men's doubles title, followed shortly by a win in the US Open doubles. That same week, McEnroe won the singles US Open title, his first major singles title. He defeated his friend Vitas Gerulaitis in straight sets in the final to become the youngest male winner of the singles title at the US Open since Pancho Gonzalez, who was also 20 in 1948. McEnroe also won the prestigious season-ending WCT Finals, beating Bjorn Borg in 4 sets. McEnroe won 10 singles and 17 doubles titles that year for a total of 27 titles, an Open-era record, finishing at singles world number 3 in the year-end rankings. At Wimbledon in 1980, McEnroe reached the singles final for the first time, where he faced Bjorn Borg, who was gunning for his 5th consecutive Wimbledon title. At the start of the final, McEnroe was booed by the crowd as he entered center court, following heated exchanges with officials during his semi-final victory over Jimmy Connors. In a fourth-set tiebreaker that lasted 20 minutes, McEnroe saved 5 championship points and eventually won 18-16. McEnroe, however, could not break Borg's serve in the fifth set, which the Swede won 8-6. This match was called the best Wimbledon final by ESPN's Countdown show Who's Number 1. McEnroe exacted revenge 2 months later, beating Borg in the 5-set final of the 1980 US Open. He was a finalist at the season-ending WCT Finals, and finished as the world number 2 ranked player for the year, behind only Borg. McEnroe remained controversial when he returned to Wimbledon in 1981. Following his first-round match against Tom Gullickson, McEnroe was fined US $1,500 and came close to being ejected after he called umpire Ted James the pits of the world and then swore at tournament referee Fred Hoyles. He also made famous the phrase "You cannot be serious," which years later became the title of his autobiography, by shouting it after several umpires' calls during his matches. This behavior was in sharp contrast to that of his now rival Borg, who was painted by the press as an unflappable iceman. However, in matches against Borg, McEnroe notably never lost his temper. After the controversy and criticism from the British press, McEnroe again reached the Wimbledon men's singles final against Borg. This time, McEnroe prevailed in 4 sets to end the Swede's run of 41 consecutive match victories at the All England Club. American TV commentator Bud Collins quipped after the match, paraphrasing Yankee Doodle, "Stick a feather in his cap and call it McEnroe and I." The controversy, however, did not end there. In response to McEnroe's on-court outbursts during the championships, the All England Club did not accord McEnroe honorary club membership, an honor normally given to singles champions after their first victory. McEnroe responded by not attending the traditional champions' dinner that evening. The honor was eventually accorded to McEnroe after he won the championship again. Borg and McEnroe had their final confrontation in the final of the 1981 US Open. McEnroe won in 4 sets, becoming the first man since the 1920s to win 3 consecutive US Open singles titles. Borg never played another major. McEnroe also won his second WCT final, beating Johan Kriek in straight sets and finished the year as the number 1 ranked player. He was named the Associated Press Athlete of the Year, the second men's tennis player to receive the honor after Don Budge in the 1930s. McEnroe lost only 1 set going into the final of Wimbledon 1982. However, he lost to Connors in the final, despite being a tiebreak from victory at the end of the 4th set. He then fell in the semi-finals at the US Open and was runner-up at the WCT Finals. He was able to retain the ATP's world number 1 ranking based on points at the end of the year, having won significant events at Philadelphia, Wembley, and Tokyo, but due to Connors's victories at the 2 most important events of the year, Connors was named the Player of the Year by the ATP and most other tennis authorities. In 1983, McEnroe reached his 4th consecutive Wimbledon final, dropping only 1 set en route, and swept aside the unheralded Chris Lewis in straight sets for his 2nd Wimbledon crown. At the US Open, he was defeated in the 4th round, his earliest exit since 1977. He then played at the Australian Open for the first time, reaching the semi-finals before being defeated in 4 sets by Mats Wilander. He made the WCT final for the 3rd time and beat Ivan Lendl in an epic 5-setter. He took the Masters Grand Prix title for the 2nd time, again beating Lendl in straight sets. He also won prized events at Philadelphia, Forest Hills, and Wembley, enabling him to capture the year-end number 1 ranking once again. 1984, Best Season. McEnroe's best season came in 1984, as he compiled an 82 three-match record that remains the highest single-season win rate of the Open era. He won a career-best 13 singles tournaments, including Wimbledon and the US Open, capturing the year-end #1 ranking. He also played on the winning US World Team Cup and runner-up Davis Cup teams. McEnroe began the year with a 42-match win streak, winning his first 6 tournaments and reaching his first French Open final, where his opponent was Yvonne Lendl. McEnroe won the first 2 sets, but Lendl's adjustments of using more topspin lobs and cross-court backhand passing shots, as well as McEnroe's fatigue and temperamental outbursts, resulted in a demoralizing 5-set loss. In his autobiography, McEnroe described this as his most bitter defeat and implied that he's never quite gotten over it. He rebounded at Wimbledon, losing just 1 set en route to his 3rd Wimbledon singles title. This included a straight-set rout over Jimmy Connors in the final. He then won his 4th US Open title, defeating Lendl in straight sets in the final, after defeating Connors in a 5-set semi-final. He also won his 4th WCT final, defeating Connors in straight sets, and took his 3rd Masters Grand Prix, beating Lendl in straight sets. His combined record against the number 2 and 3 ranked players for the year, Jimmy Connors and Yvonne Lendl, respectively, was 11-1, only losing to Lendl at the French Open and going undefeated versus Connors in 5 matches. The year did not end without controversy. While playing and winning the tournament in Stockholm, McEnroe had an on-court outburst that soon became notorious. After questioning a call made by the chair umpire, McEnroe demanded, "Answer my question." "The question, jerk." McEnroe then slammed his racket into a juice cart beside the court in anger, and the stadium crowd booed him. He was suspended for 3 weeks for exceeding a $7,500 limit on fines that had been created because of his behavior. As a result, he was disqualified from competing in the following week's significant Wembley indoor tournament, at which he was supposed to be the #1 seed, with Connors and Lendl as the 2nd and 3rd seeds. During his suspension, he injured his left wrist in practice, causing him to withdraw from the Australian Open. Taking time out. In 1985, having reached the semi-finals at the French Open, McEnroe was beaten in straight sets by Kevin Curran in the quarter-finals of Wimbledon. He reached his last major singles final at the US Open. This time, he was beaten in straight sets by Lendl. He did not advance past the quarter-finals at the WCT Finals or the Masters Grand Prix. He did win important events at Philadelphia, Canada, and Stockholm and finished the year as the world #2 ranked player. By 1986, the pressures of playing at the top had become too much for McEnroe, and he took a 6-month break from the tour. It was during this sabbatical that on August 1, 1986, he married actress Tatum O'Neal, with whom he had already had a son, Kevin. They had 2 more children, Sean and Emily, before divorcing in 1994. When McEnroe returned to the tour later in 1986, he won 3 ATP tournaments, but in 1987 he failed to win a title for the first time since turning professional. He took another 7-month break from the game following the US Open, where he was suspended for 2 months and fined $17,500 for misconduct and verbal abuse. World #1 ranking. McEnroe became the top-ranked singles player in the world on March 3, 1980. He was the top-ranked player on 14 separate occasions between 1980 and 1985 and finished the year ranked #1 4 straight years from 1981 through 1984. He spent a total of 170 weeks at the top of the rankings. Success in doubles. McEnroe's success in doubles led to some writing that he might have been the greatest doubles player of all time and possibly the greatest team player never to have played a team sport. He ranked #1 in doubles for a combined 270 weeks. His powerful partnership with Peter Fleming, saw them win 57 doubles titles, including 4 at Wimbledon and 3 at the US Open. Fleming was always modest about his own contribution to the partnership, once saying that the best doubles partnership in the world is McEnroe and anybody. McEnroe won a 4th US Open men's doubles title in 1989 with Mark Woodford, and a 5th Wimbledon men's doubles title in 1992 with Michael Stick. He also won the 1977 French Open mixed doubles title with childhood friend Mary Carrillo. Davis Cup. More than any other player in his era, McEnroe was responsible for reviving American interest in the Davis Cup, which had been shunned by Jimmy Connors and other leading U.S. players, and had not seen a top U.S. player regularly compete since Arthur Ashe. Connors's refusal to play Davis Cup instead of lucrative exhibitions had been a source of enmity between him and Ashe. In 1978, McEnroe won 2 singles rubbers in the final as the U.S. captured the cup for the first time since 1972, beating Great Britain in the final. McEnroe continued to be a mainstay of U.S. Davis Cup teams for the next 14 years, and was part of title-winning teams in 1978, 1979, 1981, 1982, and 1992. He set numerous U.S. Davis Cup records, including years played, ties, singles wins, and total wins in singles and doubles. He played both singles and doubles in 13 series, and he and Peter Fleming won 14 of 15 Davis Cup doubles matches together. An epic performance was McEnroe's 6-hour, 22-minute victory over Mats Wilander in the deciding rubber of the quarter-final win over Sweden in 1982, played in St. Louis, Missouri. McEnroe won the match, at the time the longest in Davis Cup history, 9-7, 6-2, 15-17, 3-6, 8-6. McEnroe nearly broke that record in a 6-hour, 20-minute Davis Cup loss to Boris Becker 5 years later. Becker won that match, the second rubber in a 3-2 loss to West Germany in World Group relegation play, 4-6, 15-13, 8-10, 6-2, 6-2. McEnroe also helped the U.S. win the World Team Cup in 1984 and 1985, in both cases defeating Czechoslovakia in the final. Final years on the tour. McEnroe struggled to regain his form after his 1986 sabbatical. He lost 3 times at majors to Ivan Lendl, losing straight-set quarterfinals at both the 1987 US Open and the 1989 Australian Open, and a long 4-set match, played over 2 days, in the 4th round of the 1988 French Open. Rumors of drug abuse had begun during his second sabbatical. McEnroe denied them at the time, but later acknowledged he had used cocaine during his career in a 2000 interview, although he denied that the drug affected his play. McEnroe had multiple notable victories in the final years of his career. In the 1988 French Open, McEnroe beat 16-year-old Michael Chong 6-0, 6-3, 6-1 in the 3rd round. Chong went on to win the title the next year. In 1989, McEnroe won a record 5th title at the World Championship Tennis Finals, defeating top-ranked Lendl in the semi-finals. At Wimbledon, he defeated Mats Wilander in a 4-set quarter-final before losing to Stefan Edberg in the semi-finals. He won the RCA Championships in Indianapolis and reached the final of the Canadian Open, where he lost to Lendl. He also won both of his singles rubbers in the quarter-final Davis Cup tie with Sweden. Controversy was never far from McEnroe, however. In his 4th-round match against Mikael Pernfors at the 1990 Australian Open, McEnroe was ejected from the tournament for swearing at the umpire, supervisor, and referee. He was warned by the umpire for intimidating a lineswoman, and then docked a point for smashing a racket. McEnroe was apparently unaware that a new code of conduct, which had been introduced just before the tournament, meant that a 3rd code violation would lead not to the deduction of a game but instead an immediate disqualification. He was also fined $6,500 for the incidents. Later that year, McEnroe reached the semifinals of the US Open, losing to the eventual champion Pete Sampras in 4 sets. He also won the Davidoff Swiss indoors in Basel, defeating Goran Ivanisevic in a 5-set final. The last time McEnroe was ranked in the world's top 10 was on October 22, 1990, his end-of-year singles ranking was 13th. In 1991, McEnroe won the last edition of the Volvo Tennis Chicago tournament by defeating his brother Patrick in the final. He won both of his singles rubbers in the quarter-final Davis Cup tie with Spain. He reached the 4th round at Wimbledon and the 3rd round at the US Open. His end-of-year singles ranking was number 28. In 1992, McEnroe defeated 3rd-ranked and defending champion Boris Becker in the 3rd round of the Australian Open 6-4, 6-3, 7-5 before a sellout crowd. In the 4th round, McEnroe needed 4 hours 42 minutes to defeat 9th-ranked Emilio Sanchez 8-6 in the 5th set. He lost to Wayne Ferreira in the quarterfinals. At Wimbledon, McEnroe reached the semifinals where he lost in straight sets to the eventual champion Andre Agassi. McEnroe also teamed with Michael Stick to win his 5th Wimbledon men's doubles title in a record-length 5-hour 1-minute final, which the pair won 5-7, 7-6, 3-6, 7-6, 19-17. At the end of the year, he teamed with Pete Sampras to win the doubles rubber in the Davis Cup final, where the US defeated Switzerland 3-1. McEnroe retired from the professional tour at the end of 1992. He ended his singles career ranked world number 20. He played in one tournament in 1994 as a wild card at the Rotterdam Open, losing in the first round. This was his last singles match on the ATP Tour. After Steffi Graf won the 1999 French Open, McEnroe suggested to her that they play mixed doubles at Wimbledon. She agreed, and they went on to reach the semifinals, but withdrew at that stage because Graf had reached the singles final, and preferred to focus on that tournament. After retirement from the tour. After retiring, McEnroe pursued his post-tour goal of becoming a working musician. He had learned to play guitar with the help of friends like Eddie Van Halen and Eric Clapton. During his divorce, McEnroe formed the Johnny Smith Band with himself as lead singer and guitarist, began writing songs, and played small gigs in cities where he played with the senior tour. Although Lars Ulrich complimented his natural instinct for music, a bar owner where McEnroe's band played said that he couldn't sing to save his life. The band toured for 2 years, but McEnroe suddenly quit in 1997 just before finishing his first album. In 1997, McEnroe's wife, singer-songwriter Patti Smith, told him, "In future only one of us will be working away from home on a music tour and it ain't gonna be you." McEnroe was inducted into the International Tennis Hall of Fame in 1999. He is now a sports commentator providing commentary for American television networks such as ESPN, CBS, NBC, and USA at the US Open, the Australian Open, and various ATP tournaments, as well as at Wimbledon for the BBC in the UK. McEnroe became the US Davis Cup captain in September 1999. His team barely escaped defeat in their first 2 outings in 2000. Beating Zimbabwe and the Czech Republic in tight 3-2 encounters. They were then defeated 5-0 by Spain in the semifinals. McEnroe resigned in November 2000 after 14 months as captain, citing frustration with the Davis Cup schedule and format as 2 of his primary reasons. His brother Patrick took over the job. In 2002, McEnroe played himself in Mr. Deeds and again in 2008 in You Don't Mess with the Zohan. McEnroe played himself in the 2004 movie Wimbledon. In July 2004, McEnroe began a CNBC talk show titled McEnroe. The show, however, was unsuccessful, twice earning a 0.0 Nielsen rating, and was cancelled within 5 months. In 2002, he hosted the American game show The Chair on ABC as well as the British version on BBC One, but this venture also was unsuccessful. In 2004, McEnroe said that during much of his career he had unwittingly taken steroids. He said that he had been administered these drugs without his knowledge, stating, "For 6 years I was unaware I was being given a form of steroid of the legal kind they used to give horses until they decided it was too strong even for horses." McEnroe is active in philanthropy and tennis development. For years he has co-chaired the City Parks Foundation's annual City Parks Tennis fundraiser. The charitable benefit raises crucial funds for New York City's largest municipal youth tennis programs. He collects American contemporary art, and opened a gallery in Manhattan in 1993. McEnroe still plays regularly on the ATP Champions Tour. One victory came at the Jean-Luc Lagardère Trophy in Paris in 2010, where he defeated Guy Forget in the final. Playing on the Champions Tour allows him to continue his most iconic rivalries with old adversaries Yvonne Lendl and Bjorn Borg. His last and 26th win was his 2016 win at Stockholm against Thomas Muster. In charity events and World Team Tennis, he has beaten many top players, including Marty Fish and Mark Philippoussis. In 2007, McEnroe received the Philippe Chatrier Award for his contributions to tennis both on and off the court. Later that year, he also appeared on the NBC comedy 30 Rock as the host of a game show called Gold Case, in which he uttered his famous line "You cannot be serious," when a taping went awry. McEnroe also appeared on the HBO comedy Curb Your Enthusiasm. In 2009, McEnroe appeared on 30 Rock again, in the episode Gavin Volure, where the title character, a mysterious, reclusive businessman, invites him to dinner because he bridges the worlds of art collecting and yelling. In 2010, he founded the John McEnroe Tennis Academy on Randall's Island in New York City. In 2012, McEnroe, commentating for ESPN, heavily criticized Australian tennis player Bernard Tomic for tanking against Andy Roddick at the US Open. However, Tomic was cleared of any wrongdoing, saying that he was simply overwhelmed by the occasion. McEnroe was part of Milos Raonic's coaching team from May to August 2016. In addition to his other commentary roles, McEnroe was a central figure for Australian television network Nine's coverage of the 2019/2020 Australian Open. Return to the tour. McEnroe returned to the ATP Tour in 2006 to play 2 doubles tournaments. In his first tournament, he teamed with Jonas Bjorkman to win the title at the SAP Open in San Jose. This was McEnroe's 78th doubles title and his first title since capturing the Paris indoor doubles title in November 1992 with his brother Patrick. The win meant that McEnroe had won doubles titles in 4 different decades. In his second tournament, McEnroe and Bjorkman lost in the quarterfinals of the tournament in Stockholm. McEnroe won the over 45 Legends doubles competition at the French Open in 2012. He was partnered with his brother Patrick. They beat Guy Forget and Henri Leconte 7-6, 6-3. McEnroe and his brother Patrick won again at the 2014 French Open in the over 45 Legends doubles competition. They beat Andres Gomez and Mark Woodford 4-6, 7-5, 1-0. Personal life. McEnroe was married to Academy Award winner Tatum O'Neal, the daughter of actor Ryan O'Neal, from 1986 to 1994. They had 3 children, Kevin, Sean, and Emily. After their divorce, they were awarded joint custody of the children, but in 1998 McEnroe was awarded sole custody due to O'Neal's addiction to heroin. In 1997, McEnroe married rock singer Patti Smith, with whom he has 2 daughters, Anna and Ava. They live on Manhattan's Upper West Side. Career statistics. Singles performance timeline. Records. These records were attained in the open era of tennis. Legacy. McEnroe's achievements have led many to consider him among the greatest tennis players in history. Professional awards. ITF World Champion 1981, 1983, 1984. ADP Player of the Year, 1981, 1983, 1984. ADP Most Improved Player, 1978. World Number 1 Male Player. Davis Cup Commitment Award. In popular culture. American hip-hop trio House of Pain mentions McEnroe in Jump Around. McEnroe's fiery temper has led to him being parodied in popular culture. In 1982, British impressionist Roger Kitter and Kaplan K, under the name of The Brat, recorded the single Chalk Dust, The Umpire Strikes Back, in which Kitter parodied McEnroe losing his temper during a match. The single reached the UK Top 20 and was a Top 10 hit in the Netherlands, Belgium, and South Africa. His bursts of rage were parodied in the satirical British programme Spitting Image, on which he and wife Tatum frequently screamed and threw things at each other. Another parody was in the satirical British programme Not the 9 O'Clock News, portrayed by Griff Rhys-Jones, showing him as a boy arguing with his parents over breakfast. Punk band End of a Year references his famous temper in the song McEnroe. He mocked himself in a PETA ad promoting spay and neuter, by launching into one of his famous tirades when challenged about his decision to have his dog fixed. Sir Ian McKellen used McEnroe as a model when playing Coriolanus for the Royal Shakespeare Company in 1984. In the 1980s he appeared in a commercial for R. White's Lemonade in the UK. In 2006, McEnroe appeared in a television advert campaign for National Car Rental, expressing one of his outbursts, saying, "Any car? You cannot be serious." The following year, McEnroe appeared in an advertisement for Telstra in Australia. In late 2013, he starred in a television commercial campaign for the UK-based gadget insurance company Protect Your Bubble. In the TV adverts, he emulated his on-court outbursts. In 2014 he appeared as a guitarist on the solo debut album of Chrissy Hind, lead singer of The Pretenders. McEnroe was portrayed by Shia LaBeouf in the Swedish biopic Borg vs McEnroe, which was released in 2017 depicting their rivalry and in particular the 1980 Wimbledon final. In a 2021 ad for DEC TV, Serena Williams is seen as Wonder Woman, battling machines that fire tennis balls at mall patrons. One of them is McEnroe, who has a drink spilled on him by a tennis ball. He of course responds, "You cannot be serious." Television and film appearances. See also MaxCAM, an instant replay system used by CBS and other networks, named after McEnroe. World Number 1 Male Tennis Player Rankings. Tennis Male Players Statistics. List of Grand Slam Men's Singles Champions. Bay Area Sports Hall of Fame. Borg-McEnroe Rivalry. Lendl-McEnroe Rivalry. Connors-McEnroe Rivalry. Tennis records of all-time men's singles. Tennis records of the Open Era men's singles. Notes.